we are going to look at the fonts. Now there are different type of fonts, and there are different type of fonts. Knowing the font, one thing you must know is that find a simple font, right? A font that is simple. You must not use a lot of fonts. Now if you look at very classic design, they all use simple font. If you have looked at our design, you can see these fonts are simple. You don't see so many styling or italics or type of trending font. It's just simple font, but it comes out easy. So you should also use a font that people are familiar with, font that is familiar with your print, font that is easy to read. Someone should not strain his eyes to understand what he's reading, right? It's only at some peculiar design that you want to use some font. Like I want to read the text, it should be easy to read. You don't just use some font. There are some fonts that look so artistic that reading them you not struggle to read it. You shouldn't use a simple font, but clean and classy. So those are the type of fonts you can use. You can use like the serif font, the sans serif. You can also use Roboto. You can use other fonts. So font selection is very important. Your font will determine how simple your design will be and how easy read it is. Like I said, make it as easy to read, because remember your design is passing a message, right? So how do you pair fonts? Now because you, like I told you, you can work with multiple fonts, two fonts on your design, or TV fonts. Two or three fonts is okay. You shouldn't use more than two or three fonts, and you should be able to balance them, right? You should be able to balance the font. You cannot use the weight to differentiate or emphasize. Some can be bold, some can be medium, some can be light, right? Some can be normal, right? So you can also use contrast to balance the design, and you want to use headlines with bolder um, font, or with font with a higher weight, and also a font that is eye-catching. Some fonts can attract the reader. So if a font is different from every other font, or it's bold or it's large, that font, maybe a different font, will attract eyes, because that's what looks different of everything. So it will attract the eye first to that font, and you should use that font, a different font, for specific headlines and others. That's why you see most design, every other font are the same, but the headline or the topic or the mid tag will not be a different font. So that brings attention into what you are doing, right? Then you should be able to pair your fonts regularly, know the arrangement, and also practice. Practice is the best. So you have the headline, you have the paragraph, and all that. You should be able to practice with that. Then spacing makes sense. Now if you look at this, you see how each text was spaced at the center of each of the box. Here we have 5 boxes, but the text was placed at the center. It was not placed at the top or the bottom. So you should be able to understand spacing. When you have a design, you have a size of a design. Use the size. You should be, first of all, create your border, right? Pad the border. The border there should be no design close to the border. Create the border, even though it's a small border, depending on the size of the design. Then space your element, your font, your picture, everything around within that border, and let everywhere have a touch of one element or the other. So you should have that in your design. Then you should be able to align with grids. Grids are good. Grids help you to align. So what is grid? Grids are divisions of line that are vertically and horizontally used to check your work. So there are different type of grids, like your column grids that divide it vertically, your modular grids, your baseline grid, those are horizontal grids. margins and gutters. So you must be able to use these grids to be able to align everything so that the various headlines, sub headline, call to action. Your call to action can be your banner, register now, pay, all those kind of stuff. Learn more. They are well arranged with your grid. You can know, oh, the headline ought to be in the center or at this direction or at this place. And with your grid, you can know the spacing between here and here, whether it's equal, the spacing. So grid is very important. We'll be seeing that when we'll be designing. Then now let's look at this. You can see grids from you can see, like we are talking about grids, you can see how this part was well spaced with these lines, so and all that. So you should understand that. Then let's look at the rule of third the rule of third for dynamic composition. Now, what does it talks about? It talks about using a 3 by 3 grid to place key elements and create engaging and balanced design. So, what does it tell you to do? Divide your canvas into a 3 by 3 structure. You know, your canvas is your design sheet, is your working space. It's just like your paper you use to design. Then you position key elements in the grid and position them at different places, then balance them against each other. Then you practice by placing images, text using that to ensure clarity and engagement. And you now compare the layer to understand the overall design. So design is all about practicing, but you must ensure that you get everything in place, right? So now let's talk about image test. Now, especially when you are working with a lot of image, to be able to blend image, text, and make them come out beautiful, you must know how to balance them, right? The color of the image you are going to use is going to affect the color of the text, right? You must make sure everything aligns. Sometimes you want to use some space around the image so that there's not too much text. You should be also able to align everything, your image, your font, everything should align. So most times before you design, the first thing you want to get is your image, especially when you are designing a design that has a lot of image. Before you even select text, you don't start designing text without seeing your image, or you don't even start any design without looking at your image. You look at the image you want to design. From that image, you can now know the colors that you want to use for that design. Except when you are designing for a brand that have their theme colors, like Joshua Global, you know, we have this orange, we have this brown, we have this white. So those are theme color. If you are designing for Joshua Global, you want to put orange into it. Now you want to put this brown, black, white, and all those theme color. So that's so that you want to use yellow, different, and red, those shades. So but if you are not designing for a brand then that has a theme color already, then the picture can determine what colors will I blend with this picture that will make this picture comes out beautiful. So you should be able to test, and then you are able to align everything, the space and the consistency. So now what is the difference between Canvas and Figma? So Canvas is a very good beginners friendly template tool for designing. It's usually used for designing social media posts, graphics design online, and all that. So Canvas is very good. A lot of you must be familiar with Canvas. So we also have other competitors to Canvas, other software that you can use, we can also use Poster My Wall. It's also like Canvas. It's also a free tool where you can get templates and use it. Then Figma is for designing web app or web like interactive solution like website and mobile application. You can also use Figma to design your graphics design, but it's more complex for that. So you just use simple tools like Canvas, Photoshop, Adobe Illustration, and others. But Figma is not just the only UI design tool. You can also use, if you prefer, you can use anything to design, any tool to design anything. But it's because of the tools that are available. So Figma was made for UI UX design. So it can give you not just design tools, but interactive tools. So for beginner, you should learn to use templates in Canvas. You can start by customizing templates in Canvas, changing the theme color, changing all stuff, and then you now move to building from scratch with other design tools. So, but on this, we'll be having different courses. We'll be having courses on Canvas, courses on Poster, my work courses on Figma, courses on every other design. Now we also have other design tools like Photoshop and um, Illustrator, right? So we have Photoshop, we have Illustrators. These are other two, what do you call it? Two software. They are usually used for designing, not just design, but very classic design, graphic design. They can use to design, but they are mostly for photo-based design because they have a lot of tools that help for photo designing, and also illustrators, also for shapes and all that. So we also have other tools, CorelDRAW. There are a lot of tools, so you can learn practicing with Photoshop, illustration, and every other tool. There are a lot of tools you can choose depending on your type. But most of those tools, they are on Windows, sorry, on PC. That's a computer. It's better using a computer than a phone. But for phone, it's easy with Canvas and others. Now, how do you work with files and how do you use format? Now, when you are using photo, there are different, um, what do you call it? There are different type of photo. We have PNG. PNG is a type of photo that is good for logos and graphics because you can have transparent, any transparent photo that you have a transparent end, you save them in PNG. PNG is useful when you want to have logos, icon, and you want to use PNG. But for a photo without what do you call it, transparency with a lot of colors, you want to use JPG. Then PDF is when you want to print to preserve after you have designed. You don't want, when you are exporting it, you don't want the quality to reduce. You save it in PDF because somebody can download a JPEG and send it to another person through WhatsApp or something, and you see that your design quality reduced. But except you are sending, especially if you or you upload it online as on Facebook or social media, when it is viewing it, the quality of that image reduce both what they call it PNG and JPEG. The quality can reduce, but when you use PDF quality doesn't reduce anyway. It preserves the quality, the layout, and everything. Then we have SVG. This is for icons. A lot of icons um, come in SVG. Then you are able to learn how to adjust resolution to be able to, for different purposes, whether you are printing or others. And when you are saving, one thing you should know is save with the clear name, right? Save in the right folders. Your work, saving your work with the right title has a lot way to go. It makes your work easy, it makes identification easy, it makes sending, exporting easy, and you should ensure when you have a job you can export in different formats to see which is best for that job.